Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we decided to make. I turned my gain up on my microphone, and I did that.
Thanks for that.
My apologies to our viewers, listeners.
Yeah.
We're a drinking podcast that talks about movies, and we try to keep it positive. So any single time we say something negative, you're going to hear this sound.
Any single time.
Any single time. That sound means we need to take a drink. Keep it positive, people. We hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass. Gentlemen, present your shots.
Slink.
Yep. And we're going to talk about why you shouldn't post on Twitter 2 weeks before your movie opening.
Oh.
Wait, I didn't want to gush you.
Intrigue. Intrigue. I don't even know what you're talking about.
But before we do...
I also don't know what we're talking about.
Anyone on YouTube may notice down in the bottom right corner, we've got an extra guest this week.
I don't know if you guys know this, but when Dave gets drunk at bars on his birthday, he just goes around and starts to tell people that they could be on his podcast. And fortunately for us, Tina decided to hold us accountable to that, and we're so happy about this. Sorry, Dave, you can finish the introduction.
All right. I'm a married man. I did not pick Tina up in a bar.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. We've actually worked together. Tina is a working actress.
Nice.
Tell us about yourself. Tina, say hi.
We didn't know the last name. We practiced her last name. Damn it.
Nikolova. Is that right? Tina Nikolova.
Yes. You did great, actually.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Jeff, the way you started introducing me, it sounds like you don't think that I should be on this podcast. Dave picks random people in bars and... it's
way to really build her up, Jeff.
No one who really knows anything or has any valid opinions or should really be here. It's just
this is for Tina because she doesn't have her own buzzer. Fuck you, Jeff. Fuck you, Jeff.
But no, I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy that I went to Dave's birthday party. Yeah. And we talked for a long time. And
I've never seen this woman before in my life.
And we decided that it would be fun to have me on the podcast.
Yeah, we were actually.
Wait, so y'all have?
I think we were talking about pulling you in. Oh yeah, we've worked together on at least one film.
Some short films, indie films. Yeah, nice, man.
One film.
But yeah, Dave and I have worked together. We worked together on the Dark Offerings.
The Dark Offerings.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was one of those desktop films that was shot from the point of view of a desktop.
So was that Marcus's desktop film?
That was, and that was the source of my warning to filmmakers last week: never shoot your film over Zoom, because when you get into post production, it's a nightmare.
Oh, of course, yeah, I cannot imagine. Well, I'm glad you did it though, because look what it yielded. Tina on the show. Welcome to the show, Tina.
It was all worth it for that.
That's what 15 whiskeys yielded. No.
We should also thank Tina because Tina was going to be on last week, but we reshuffled the schedule here. So thanks for being flexible.
We were going to have her on for Women Talking at one point too, but that
was my suggestion. But then I saw that you guys recorded without me, so I was pissed. And then 2 days later, Dave was like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll come talk about this movie."
Yeah.
Well, whoopsie daisy. That ended up being men talking about women talking, but we should have had you on. Is really
back to me. We've been trying to get Tina on the show forever. I knew it. You know it. I was at that birthday party. I thought we were ready to joke about it, but I do. In hindsight, I hear how it came out. I'm living in the future, just like our audience.
What is that?
Finally used it. Okay.
We have some little jingles that tell each other to shut the fuck up, and that was Jeff's. That was Jeff. Shut the fuck up.
Honestly, highly necessary. Thank you so much. So we're going to talk about Aftersun in a second. I can't wait to talk about it. But first, for those of you new to the podcast, welcome. Please leave a review, like and subscribe, etc., all that kind of good stuff. At the end of the episode, we'll give you our recommendations of the week in our segment, What You've Been Watching. We are going to go through some gripes. This is our favorite segment where we can just say whatever we want and gripe about something for 1 minute each. If you're only here for the episode, you can scooch along. If you're on YouTube, Dave has the little bars set up. I will leave it in the show notes. The past 2 weeks, I haven't been listening, but I've been pretty close in my guess as to when we segued into the movie. And we try to keep it spoiler-free. free for about 10 minutes. John, can you please shout our sponsors out so we can get this thing rolling?
Oh, yeah. We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. You can find that man on Instagram at cbarroso.beer, just like it sounds. I'm just kidding. Of course you don't know what Barroso sounds like. CBAROZO.beer. And we have some music that you might hear at the beginning of this episode. And every single episode, it is provided by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. You can find that man's music available for free on all the usual platforms. So go like, subscribe, chase his stuff down. It's wonderful. And yeah, come at us social media. We will reply. We will also talk to you when we're drunk at our birthdays at bars. So there are a million ways to get in touch with us.
Yep.
And that's why we're here
what's that?
today.
Is that
I am so excited. Yeah, we haven't come up with a name for it yet, but we're around. It's basically we're on both coasts, so you can really be anywhere, and you might find us. All right, let's do it. I'm so excited to talk about.
Actually, just before we go, I need to clarify my my opening joke about Twitter. I don't know whether you guys have found this already today, but Zachary Levy came out in support of a statement that was made by a militant anti-vaxxer about how Pfizer is one of the most dangerous things in the world. And he was like, hard agree. And everybody jumped on it. Like, he was cancelled in an instant. It was, I woke up to this. I woke up to like his post. From, like, yeah.
Over.
Oh, that is the best joke you've ever made on the show.
Oh man, it's right there.
Yeah. But like what he was actually talking about was the, like the fraud and everything in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, giant pharmaceutical company.
10 minutes, the dude was destroyed 2 weeks out before the opening of his movie.
Of course.
Well, what was it about? Was it about the fact that like they didn't give up the patent? So like all these people that could have been
he had previous like statements where he talked about like the fraud and stuff like that, where they were literally milking that stuff. But but he'd also supported some other people that were questionable in the past as well. So there were both sides to the arguments, but yeah, like Twitter took him down in 5 minutes flat. It
was a weird situation. It was kind of like us calling in the Suicide Squad. Like we don't like this industry. We don't like the way they run their business, but we needed them to save the world. And there's conflict there. You're probably not a normal, well-read, informed person if you think that they are a great company with loves and hugs and they're just here to save us all and not make any money. I mean, come on.
Keep in mind though, we've all got the chip in us now, so if they press that button, we're going boom. So
yes, I am all Pfizer too. I have only had Pfizer. I tried to switch it up this past
all Pfizered up.
Yeah,
this episode's going to get pulled off everything.
I'm a mix. I'm a mix.
Jeff's a mutt.
You don't look mixed. You look like you're from one island.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Let's fucking
unique start I've ever
go. Let's move into the movie. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Well, we got to get into our gripes of the week, John. Do you want to skip that segment? Do you want to skip that segment? Do you have any gripes?
No,
Tina,
I look forward to it.
Does Tina please do you have a gripe?
Do yours first so she can understand what the hell we're.
I mean, I've listened to the show. I know.
Okay.
I had several, and I was like, do I really want to start off with like saying something negative? And then I was like, well, it is a movie podcast, so maybe I'll say I have like a tiny little just a tiny little one.
All right,
that is about movie watching.
Tina, you have the floor. You have 60 seconds.
Can all the streaming platforms please get rid of this stupid setting that makes a random movie start playing the second that the credits start rolling on the one that you've just been watching?
Yeah.
I've turned it off wherever I could figure out how to do the settings on that. But then I always end up downloading some new app because there's something that's only streaming on that one thing. And I download it and I forget to do it. And then the movie ends and I'm sitting there in awe of what I've just seen. And I just want to watch the credits and listen to the music.
And maybe an after credits scene.
And I see this thing is like in 10 seconds, something else is going to start. And then I have to scramble for the remote and be like, which button do I press? Which button do I press? Is it the up arrow? Is it the back arrow? How do I get back to the movie? And it just
and then it's gone. It's gone.
No.
And it's gone.
You can't get back.
And I can't go back to it because I'll start playing for the beginning. I can't just go back to, and then it's gone. The entire movie.
It's a conspiracy. They're doing it to put their watches up because you got to go back and start from the beginning.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Why would I want to start watching some completely random movie the second that another one is done? Why?
Nobody likes it. it makes sense for the bingeable television shows, and we know what they're doing. They're fucking with us, and they want us to stay up and keep watching. But with a movie, like, you just had this giant experience. The snow is falling. You're feeling like I'm basking whatever that last moment was, and now I'm trying to figure out how to,
and then I pressed the wrong button because on Apple it's the back arrow, and on that one is the up arrow. And it just, yeah. So that is my gripe.
I will say, shout out, I guess one positive, Netflix is the worst culprit about this for sure. Hulu, I have noticed with movies, counts down all like 10,000 seconds until the credits are totally over or whatever.
Yes.
So at least they I still wish I didn't have to look at that, because even that takes me out of it just a little bit. It reminds me
on Netflix, I've turned it off.
Platform. Yeah,
I will also point out that Tina, you went over the 60 seconds. Just welcome to the show.
Yeah, nice try. Nice try. Yeah, have your drink. Enjoy. That was great and a classic.
Perfect, Greg.
Jeff, why don't you really kick it off? Because I kind of missed having your gripe last week in my life. Without hearing you complain for 60 seconds at least once a week, I don't really know what to do with myself.
All right, Dave. Yeah, let's do it. I'll go. Which one do I want to do? Shit. Okay, go. I'll do this one. Well, can we just stop putting raisins in cookies? Can we just give it up? I don't understand why we keep doing this. Why did we do this? We literally took a grape. We said, this is delicious. Let's take all the fun out of it and let's put it in our delicious meals. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It has the texture of like a butthole and the taste of rubber. Like, I don't put Fritos on my cookie. You know, I guess that's a bad example. I don't just like go around just trying to put
texture
fruits
like a butthole is a bad example. How many buttholes have you had at a time?
Eat your raisins separate. Why did we put them in there? How many people at parties sit there and go, yes, fucking raisins in the cookies? No, I actually can't believe they still exist. I can't believe it. So I went to like a really fancy place in Astoria. Chip, I was there very briefly, and it's so delicious, and it's like this doughy cookie, and then they have fucking raisins in there, and it's like, what are you doing? Why do I want this chewy butthole texture in my fucking soft, sweet, delicious, milky cookie? It makes no sense. Raisins are retired. No one's grandma's making cookies for us anymore.
There is probably a fun party-going demographic that would absolutely buy butthole-flavored cookies if they were out there. So I think don't be hating on.
I think we need to unpack Jeff's butthole thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but
texture.
If you think about the look of a butthole and the look of a raisin
is
maybe
what you think.
Different coloration, but no, I don't think butthole and then I go, oh, raisin. I think raisin and I go only in that direction.
Sure. Yeah. That's
how you going
that's
there,
something.
A valid point.
Welcome.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Welcome to the show. Dave, go ahead and hit it, dude. I'm still taking all this in here.
I actually don't have a grape. I don't have a grape this week.
I don't think I have one either. I had I'm feeling okay. There's some really terrible things happening all around the world in our country, but not the platform to talk about that stuff. So let's
cookies and movies, baby. Let's go. People, it is finally
actually
time.
wait, I'll shout this out. I will shut the fuck up. Not really a gripe, but I did want to bring it up because I thought it was interesting and applied to our movie going podcast, where we often talk about going to the movie theater versus staying at home. I'm in this class right now with it's being taught by the president of Mandalay Pictures, and so it's all about just like the business side of what this industry is about. And we were chit-chatting about this stuff at some point tangentially in class. What's going to happen with the future of movie going in terms of price adjustments? Is it going to become relative? Is it going to become each streaming service has its own theater? And all these things were talked about. But he was talking about, and he said, like, very sincerely, he said, I really do believe that within the next few years, you're going to just scan your phone subscription service. And when a company like Amazon or Netflix has a movie that's in there, that is your ticket in. You will still have to pay your own, refreshment charges and stuff like that. But he said the industry is very close to getting the massive companies like AMC to finally fold and accept the fact they have already paid for their movie. There might be a surcharge for your experience to watch it in this theater, but it is not $21 across the platform for every movie ever. And I was just surprised. He said it fairly definitively. He said, I really think it's going to happen much sooner than later, and it's going to change everything.
Wow.
Well,
that might send Regal right out of business.
I mean, well, they'll get some of they'll get,
they're hanging from the precipice right now. So that might be.
Oh, the Union Square one is closing, right?
Which one's closing?
The Union Square one.
Yeah, Regal Union Square is closing. I think there's 4 of them in New York closing.
It was priced out, or do you think it just people aren't going anymore?
No, they can't afford to keep them open.
Do you think it was their 4D that did it when they invested all that money into fucking... What's the air on the back of my neck? It's not fucking Disney World, Regal. What were you doing?
A friend of mine actually
feels like the person behind you is like...
A friend of mine actually went and saw something like that. And he went and saw something in one of those. He came out and he's like, I don't want this experience. Like, I don't want to... Like, for instance, I could liken it back to the 70s sketch about feel around theatre. It's like, I don't want that level I don't want the subs under the seat moving the seat. Yeah. Like, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. I don't want it. And there's a lot of people that just don't want that.
I still think there's a huge miss at the industry in flexible pricing. I don't understand. Even in the standard format, why do I see Ant-Man, a $200 million movie, in the standard format and pay the same as Aftersun?
Well, good.
So why do I pay the same amount of money for them? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm happy to report
that's exactly,
you get your wish, because AMC is bringing in tiered pricing.
Tiered pricing is coming in, and it is one of the things that...
Where's my money? I've been saying this for years. Damn it.
These streaming services are trying to muscle this because they purchase an acquisition and distribute these films in a tiered... Of course they do. It doesn't cost the same amount of money to distribute a 3,000 screen international release, massive marketing campaign for a large blockbuster as it does for something like Aftersun, which is, going to the coastal towns, limited cities, 28 city release, it's, of course it's different. So they have already done that. So the only companies that were benefiting from it were the exhibitors, the AMCs and the Regal.
Like Star Wars, where they're like, we want 50,000 screens and whatever Quentin Tarantino's putting his films on right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I will say I disagree with people who don't think that.
You got so snippy.
I disagree with people who don't say that there is something that you're paying for in the movie theater. I haven't paid for my subscription price isn't the same thing watching it at home as it is with giant wonderful sound and a dark room and hopefully people that are taking it
not
seriously in the theater. So I mean. Sure. All right, you know what? Look at me griping. Can we please talk about this movie?
I know. I thought you didn't have a gripe. What's going on?
How excited are you about Aftersun?
The gripes like that are the reasons we have the timer.
We come on the show, we make risky jokes, and then we just talk over our guests. This is great. We are the most generous podcast of all
That's
time.
exactly what Smartlist does. We're on the same page.
They do make okay. Anyway, people. It is finally time for us to talk about the Scottish film Aftersun, which was sponsored by the National Lottery, and it teaches you how to become a great parent.
You'd be surprised how many films get made. They fund a lot of films, the National Lottery.
Davey's in the middle of a joke.
To be fair, it wasn't. How do you like that kind of a go?
All over.
Okay, should I start the joke over again?
Start the joke over again.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to start the Scottish film Aftersun, a film sponsored by the National Lottery, which teaches you how to become the cool parents by telling your daughter those traditional Scottish values like how to mock your tour guides and how to heckle your resort entertainment by throwing things at them while they're on stage.
Things at them, yeah.
That's my joke.
Worth it. I'm glad we went back for that. That was worth it.
Yes, that was worth it.
Jesus Christ.
This film stars Academy Award nominee Paul Mescal. So this is award season. So even though we have to give writer-director Charlotte Wells the bulk of the credit here, this is a proper independent film which was fought for by this amazing, talented person well before Paul Mescal was cast. So, it always kind of stinks in podcasts and stuff when they only talk about the actors who came in years after these things were already in pursuit. But since he is nominated for an Oscar, have any of you seen, a lot of us have seen The Lost Daughter. The Lost Daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have any of you seen Normal People, which I did. I saw Normal People.
Of course.
I have not.
Beautiful. So, let's preface. Yeah, let's just cancel these other two. Not cancel. Let's just shut these other two up for a second. Tina, what did you think of Paul Mescal's? What did you think of Paul Mescal's performance when you saw Normal People? I imagine in the middle of the pandemic, while we were all at home. Did you know that he was going to be the next movie star, or did that matter?
Well, I thought for both of them that this was going to be like a big start. I didn't know that he was, 2 years later is going to be nominated for an Oscar, but I thought that both of them would have a great future. I was like, all right, watch these two over the next few years. So
it's because Daisy Edgar James, one of them won a BAFTA for their performance in normal people. That was Paul Mescal. He won a BAFTA. He won the television film award, or the television award for best actor. So this guy, very subtle performances. He always looks like himself, kind of sounds like himself. Great guy. And now he's going to be the next Gladiator, and he just wins awards. I think it's a very surprising thing. So Paul Mescal leads this movie as Callum, the father.
What is that illusion? You referenced the next Gladiator. What? I don't know anything.
They're doing a Gladiator sequel, and he was cast, and it's still speculative as to whether or not he's playing a son that survived. He's probably playing Commodus' son, but I don't know if that's been announced yet. But yeah, they're doing. Ridley Scott is in talks to. I don't know if he's going to direct it, but they're developing a new Gladiator sequel, and he is cast.
No, it's not Maximus' son.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's what I was. Yeah, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. I was like, Commodus.
Unless they try to pull a Game of Thrones, like it was different. It was Farm Boys.
It's finally run out of Blade. Finally run out of Blade Runners. He's like, what else we got?
Oh, come on.
Didn't he do anything else? He's like, get out of here, dude. This also stars Frankie Corio in her film debut. She's a young actress as Sophie, his daughter. I was sort of surprised by, I don't want to call it the gimmick, but the sort of pitch by the movie. But I think it's okay to share it. You know, I don't think it's a spoiler. So I don't have much else to say about the setup. Should we just go ahead with the IMDb description and then get our initial takeaways?
Do it.
All right. So I'll read the IMDb description, and then we'll take it away. What'd you think? What'd you feel? Spoiler-free for a couple minutes. Sophie reflects on the shared joy and private melancholy of a holiday she took with her father 20 years earlier. Memories, real and imagined, fill the gaps between as she tries to reconcile the father she knew with the man she didn't. Who would like to take it away with your initial reactions? Can we start with our guest, Tina? Can we go right to you?
Sure, I'd love to. Well, I love this movie, absolutely. And I actually rewatched it yesterday because I'd seen it maybe a month ago. And I loved it even more the second time around. I have to be honest. So thank you guys for giving me that excuse to watch it again, because
Hell yeah.
It was just marvelous.
You've just answered a question I have later, so thank you.
Yeah, it made me feel all the feels. There was a lot of crying at home yesterday, which is why I was upset about Paramount Plus trying to play something right after. But anyway.
That was in response to this movie.
Yes.
Wow, high to low real fast. You went from I love this movie so much to your gripe like that.
Yeah. I don't know how much else to say before you guys say your initial reactions.
You keep going.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first time when I saw it in the theater, I actually saw it 2 days before my birthday, so it kind of hit pretty hard. But it kind of became pretty clear from the bat, like right off the bat, that you should not be looking for any type of, what's gonna happen or anything like that. You just like sit back and let it wash over you. Just enjoy it, and that's what happened. But this time around, when I saw it, because I knew I'd have to talk about it, I was like, I started paying more attention to the small details, and that hit a lot harder. It's just like really, really paying attention to those details, because they're so subtle, but everything has just so much depth. And I'm sure I'm going to be rewatching this movie.
All right, I'm gonna stop you now because you're taking half my notes.
Okay, I'm done.
What do you think?
It's funny. I read what it was about, and I'm like, cool. And there are two ways to introduce a film like this. It can be punchy and fast and then move into a plot, or it can make the watcher experience the journey and every minutiae of setting up the story. And this was like the latter. There was like a 7-minute setting the scene montage at the beginning of it. And I started thinking, this is not going to sit well with me at all. Like nothing's happened so far. We've pretty much just jumping from scene to scene. There's no real connection and stuff. And it was like, it's like when you read Anne Rice and she takes like 4 pages to describe a Paris street and stuff. I was like, this is going to do this the whole way through. I don't think I'm going to like this. And I think a lot of people are going to fall into that trap. And you're dead wrong, people. Because what this is actually doing is it's a carefully crafted example of show, don't tell. Because they're literally like they're revealing it through very subtle, again, exposition. And that was the only thing I was concerned about with this film, is like, it's so subtly done, you may miss it on a first watch, which is why I was glad to hear that on the second watch you noticed a lot of the stuff, because this does have a thread. Like, there is definitely a story there. You've just got to invest yourself in it. This is definitely one I think would be better in the theater, because it demand, like, if you're going to watch it at home, put your phone in another room, chuck the dog out in the backyard, whatever. Just make sure there's no interruptions. You need to invest the time in watching this if you're going to watch it at home, because it is good.
John. Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely, it is one of those movies. I will say that if you're willing to do that, because I think so many people did not have the opportunity to see this in the theater, if you take it seriously, this is a small, very intimate film that you can have a very good personal experience with at home. You don't need crazy speakers and a giant television to really connect with this material. So I know what you mean. I think it would have felt really special to share that with people. But I had a lovely experience last night, just me and my girlfriend. And that is the word that I like. As soon as it finished, I was like, that was fucking lovely. That was so personal, so much humanity. You know, it's weird how like life lines up with things. There's another class that I'm in right now, and we're literally talking about memory in cinema, and all the millions of ways it has been explored and expressed. And, you know, a lot of this has to do with literature and so many great writers. We were reading this piece about Salman Rushdie, and he was talking about how when you put together a mosaic of like mundane memories, it turns into something much more than itself. And my favorite thing about this film was that she didn't try to create a slice of life film where they were showing these really intense moments. Like the best slice of life for me, I thought Florida Project is a good example. Boyhood. The best ones I feel like are when you put together just these moments where there is a tension that is inevitably baked in because you're aware that there is a drama being imposed on the storytelling. But the actual life that you're watching are those moments that you might easily forget about if you were living them. And there's something that just is so invigorating about watching this kind of portrayal of life when it really isn't heightened. Now, that's the bulk of the film. There are moments where she is dealing with his depression, where she is dealing with the way the child is observing him, and whether or not there's a clarity or an understanding there, or maybe a really intense understanding that the dad is feeling some shame with. It is just enough to make you realize everybody understands who the other person is in this film, but it's not the issue that is the tip of the spear. It's not a virtue signaling kind of film about depression or about the troubles of daughters and fathers and mothers and sons and parents and children. And because of that, I was able to kind of slip in and have my own experience. And Charlotte Wells is a brilliant director. I saw her short film a couple of years ago, Lapse, which everyone press pause on this podcast and just watch her short film. It's on Vimeo, won a bunch of awards. It's really, really amazing. She went to NYU. So when this came out, I was really excited to see it. And I just want to congratulate her on it. She didn't make her first, like, very personal film too on the nose with anything. There was room for all of us in her personal film. And I just thought it was so lovely. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Josh alarm.
And when we get into our spoiler section, there is a device that she's using throughout that I'm sure you're all thinking about that I do want to talk about, because I think it's a fun contrast to the normal slice of life structure that is most of this movie. So just kind of let it wash over you, and I think you're going to have a great time. And it was shot in Turkey. Shout out to my people. Beautiful location. Yeah. Good job.
Are you still applying to get some grants for your things?
I will absolutely shoot something in Turkey one day. On the cheap. That is my goal.
Can Aussies get grants? Am I missing out on something here?
You probably can, dude. Most European countries can. I don't know about Australia, but most European films, independent films, are funded halfway by grants alone from the city and the state.
Yeah, Australian walks in and like, fuck off, you convict. You'll probably just steal it.
You convict?
We don't want your fucking film, you fucking cunt.
Wait, so they got all these Well, anyway, I love this too. There you go. That was easy. What else do you guys want to talk about? No,
come on, dude. Come on, get in there.
Oh, did we steal everything?
This movie. Why am I gushing? Who's gushing me? Get out of here.
Comedy gush.
That was it. Yeah,
it was a comedy gush.
We have to drink anyway.
Well, okay. So the movie started. It was brilliant. I kind of didn't know if it was the opening title or not with like the party sequence, and I was like, is this like a new what do you call those like company
Logo?
like
Yeah, the company.
You know
logos.
the logos like are now they're all animated now, right?
Yeah.
They're all like little mini movies, and it's like, and then
5 minutes long.
And then 2 seconds later they tell me exactly what the thing just told me. They're like, A24 present. It's like, I know, I just saw that. It's A24. How many times is it? They're like, did you guys see that? It's A24. It's A24. Guys, did you see that?
Have you seen the Family Guy episode where they take the piss out of that and he's like sitting down the movie and it's like, there's this guy on a log playing a guitar and it's like, oh, it's about this guy. Oh, it's guy on a log films.
Yeah, like, that's yes. Or you think it's the actual movie.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. But as soon as we get to Paul.
Oh God!
You don't see his face. I don't think you see his face right away. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. In my memory, I don't see his face. But I remember as soon as he speaks his first line, it was so Scottish. I didn't understand a word he said. So I pushed rewind 10 seconds, and then he did it again. And it was completely unintelligible. I didn't get a single word of it. And I said, I'm gonna fucking love this movie. I was like, yes, they
subtitles
kept that
on
in the film. They knew that some people were gonna be like, what the fuck did he just say? And they were like, but it's Scottish. We get it. Let's move on.
Seriously, if you turn the subtitles on, they're spelt phonetically.
Are you serious?
No, I'm kidding.
Get out of here. At least, hey, if this was set in Wales, I would have definitely turned that on. Just seen all these 40 letter words.
I do like the very first thing you see is like her playing with the camera, the video camera, and the first question she asks is like, because she's talking about how it's his birthday, and it's like, when you were 11, what did you think you'd be doing now?
Oh.
And it was a gobstopper of a question right at the beginning.
It's like, and here's the theme, and here's the pieces.
But it was a question he like struggled for an answer for, and then by the end you realize why. And they kind of replay that event, but
yeah, it comes back in the middle of the movie. They play it again.
I would pose the same question to you guys. When you're 11, what do you think you'd be doing now?
I did not think I was going to be in America. That's for sure.
Really?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Me either.
No way.
Me either. yeah, dude.
I mean, yeah. When I was 48, I wasn't sure.
It's a tough question. But Tina, you're right. I love how she just thematically from the very beginning sets up. This is an observation on how I see my father, how I saw my father, and it's just it was so intrinsic. And Jeff, you're right, dude. Sorry, I know we're still in the spoiler section, or not in the spoiler section, but this is the very first fucking moment of the movie. This home video aesthetic that she introduces that kind of does go in and out a lot. It doesn't matter if you understand everything that everybody says, right? Like there's something jankety about it that feels like that's part of the language, is that I don't even know if they're actually understanding what they're saying to each other perfectly, or if she's, even in that moment, as you can tell that they're not quite on the same page, and he doesn't really want to answer that question. And I don't know, it just...
Yeah, it cuts out because really she asks him, and it cuts out. He just
goes to that thing. Yeah.
Well,
I understood what he said. I'm used to like these wankers coming down talking funny.
This wankers.
I understood it, but I can't remember what he says in that moment.
It might have actually been when they were in the hotel. I might have considered that like the first part, like kind of the intro, and then whatever. I can't remember, but I just remember being like, "What?" and rewinding.
Sure they weren't still in company logos?
No, I'm not.
Like, what the fuck did he just say? Films.
Mescal's production company. What did he say? Films? No, but somebody says somebody mentioned something. They were like, they wish there was a voiceover on a scene to keep like it moving or whatever. And I was like, but that movie can't have a voiceover, because as soon as you have a voiceover with a different image, then it's the director. The director is saying, I want you to see this and hear this, and then you can see the director when they do that. With these kinds of movies, it's best when we know that they're showing us what they want to show us, but they're in a way invisible, and to have especially this device that they're filming the whole time. And yes, we know that when it's handheld, it's the actual camera. When it's not. But the idea of this being a memory piece is so obvious that it's like the director is able to kind of stay out of it so much. And the way they frame people was so deliberately framed in such a way that it was not deliberate, where you're looking at backs.
We'll be talking about that later.
You see emotional sequences
and reflections,
but it's a lot of reflections. Side
angles. Are we not allowed to talk about that yet, Dave? What are the rules?
Talk about reflections. Everyone has reflections.
No, we do the spoiler free because when we went, okay, we're gonna spoil it, and John goes, okay, so Bond dies, and we're just like, and we're like,
shot of the
guys,
movie is
like, we could literally sit there. They changed the style of the film so that near the end, that's not a spoiler, but so James Bond,
nobody
he's
wanted
dead.
to talk about that.
He's
Nobody
dead.
gave a shit about that. That movie wasn't good enough to talk about anything else except for the fact that he fucking died.
Bring it back to
yes, to the movie.
I did find it like I got the the impression, I don't know if you agree, but the video camera and the little girl were her memory, and our camera was the grown up. Just being able to distinguish from what was really going on from the romanticized kid memory that she had of what was happening at the time.
Even when the dad would go to bed and leave his 10-year-old child at the bar for the whole night, he'd be like, yeah, just go to bed when you're tired.
Yeah. No, you could do that in the 80s.
I don't know if it was the 80s because
Tub
Thumping played. It was definitely the 90s.
Macarena.
Macarena and Tub Thumping. I mean, come
on. You don't. What's more realistic is him being very protective, seeing that she is starting to grow up. And I mean, that first moment when they arrive at the hotel, it was just so telling. Like there's no one at reception, and he goes up the stairs, and then he comes back because he's like, oh, wait. Can I leave her alone?
Oh, wait, I have a child.
I should not leave her alone. And he's like, I'm okay. He's like, okay. He goes.
Yeah.
So I think that sets up a very interesting contrast between him just like really and teaching her to defend herself and then all that being very protective. And then that moment when he does leave her.
And there's something very obvious. And they clarified at one point with some lines a little later in the film. This is a very young father. And there's something taboo and a little bit off about how you are supposed to feel about their relationship initially. Do you have any judgment for him? Are you confused? Or do you, like people later in the film, think, are you brother and sister or step or, So there's the way they introduce those dynamics, is really, it's part of this story, which, obviously I'm sure she realized there was a lot of meat on the bone there for interesting ways to interpret that ambiguity. But I agree. I feel like the way that they established their relationship was part of the fun. Dave, to your point, I know what you mean, and I think I agree with you that there's a good argument to be made that she is reflecting on these memories, their home movies. It's already insinuated. We literally see a few clips of her later where she's watching them. But there are also some lovely moments on the trip where he is watching, where he is like watching something that they did that day. And there's, I don't know, I feel like that's her maybe reaching into the past because there's no way the director-writer could have known that he did that. But it is lovely to think that that's another way that she's trying to subvert this, that it's not just my memory, that he was trying to cling to something as well. Maybe he was trying to understand their relationship just as much as I was. And that's just every time I got to see a little bit of that, where she was maybe imagining what her dad was trying to do to get as much as he could out of this holiday. That's where it really broke my heart in a beautiful way, not like just a tragic way.
Because we didn't do that back then. We didn't record something and then immediately look at it, like maybe with pictures, but that idea is very contemporary. So I thought that was really good too. I should also make it clear too that there's very little about this movie is wholly original. Like this does seem on paper like it would be very similar to a lot of other indie movies, but I say that complimentary because this is far superior than all the other ones too. So, and it's not just the fact that it has this polish and this look that looks like a prestige miniseries. Like it looks like HBO or Apple or something said, yeah, make your fucking movie and put it on our program. Like it looked really stunning. And we say that a lot on this show, but usually they have at least $1 million or, they have 2 or 3, they usually have some money. This looks like they really put their time into that kind of stuff too. But it's the feel and the just the way everything moves and ends. I know with a lot of indie movies, when you're a proper indie director, you have to, especially when you're selling movies to producers or whatever, it's like you have to. People ask questions and they just can't fucking help themselves. So I can't even imagine what Charlotte Wells had to do to defend. Like, what is the father? Did he become a father when he was 16? And all these things that that the director doesn't want to answer. But like, everything is so deliberately done in this movie, even though it seems so slice of lifey. Back to what you were saying there, John, that it's like. It's almost hard to explain why this is so much better than all the other indie movies, other than to just talk about the movie and the way that it made us feel and the way that it moved us. Would you guys agree with that?
That's the beautiful thing about the National Lottery. They don't ask questions.
No, they just say, give us your money and we'll put half of it towards future movies.
I wanted to go back to talking about the age difference. And yeah, at first it was, I was trying to think, like, how old is he supposed to be? And, they say, like, 31, but he also is actually younger than that, and he looks even younger than that. So for a while I was I have to think of them as father and daughter, but they don't really look like father and daughter.
To the daughter, but he probably looked 40, to the 10-year-old. So
well, she says like, you're turning 130, I just turned in the beginning when she's filming. She says, I just turned 11 and you're 130 turning 131. That's how old he seems to her. But I think it's so interesting that this this connection that they're both want to have with each other is like, she's trying to grow up, but she's not grown up yet. There's all of these moments of, she's trying to hang out with the cool kids and she's trying to get closer to her dad, but she's 11. She's just not that grown up yet. And her life has not yet started. And he's only 31 and he feels like his life is over. And he is still a child and he's still trying to connect to her maybe in that way, is like trying to go back to childhood. So the difference is 20 years and her life hasn't begun. And he thinks is over. He doesn't think he's going to make it to 40. And he's like, I don't know how I made it to 30. So I feel like that also, both of them have that loneliness. They're trying to connect, but it's their own loneliness. So they kind of feel like they're on the outside.
Did you notice as well, like they were very careful to have, there was like one kid that was like her age. Everyone else was like older than her or younger than her. Yeah. And it was the same with him. Everyone was either older or younger. There was only like one, maybe two people in the vicinity that were the same age. So that like they have that to that loneliness.
That scene at the pool at the beginning when he's like, go introduce yourself. And she's like, oh, they're kids. He's like, you go introduce yourself. Oh, they're old. So
yeah, it's good. But I must admit, in the very beginning of the movie, I was like, the days when you could just walk up to a stranger, have a video game motorbike race, and then just say bye and never see that person again. Like I've had those vacations. It was all like video game arcades were the best for like random quick socialization.
Just at the arcade, and those games are more fun. Time Crisis. Those games are just more fun with another person.
Yeah. Let's turn the spoilers on, just so I feel like we're beginning to start to move into more specific things. I want to
spoilers on.
He dies. No,
spoilers. Dead.
I did want to clarify that for you guys first, actually, because I heard through the grapevine. I didn't read anything. I didn't want to know anything. I saw the poster and that was it. And I just wanted to go in as cold as possible. But I heard that this was about her father, who later, did he commit suicide? Is that true? Did y'all hear that? Or
it's ambiguous. Like the film itself. I don't think.
Not in the film. Like in real life.
I don't know if hers. I know the story was based. Like the vacation stories were based on a vacation she took with her father, but that's as far as my knowledge goes.
Okay, and you know what? I wish nobody had said anything to me, because I kind of went into that a little bit thinking like, oh, is this going to be all of it building up to this? And it kind of poisoned my brain a little bit, because I feel like there was much more lovely commentary on the isolation you're talking about, Tina, the loneliness, and just this urge that we all have to close the distance with family, and how difficult that can be. And what a weird way to try to, an effective way, I thought, to try to demonstrate that with mundane scenes. Again, not these big fight scenes that we see in a lot of family dramas and stuff. I just thought there were so many effective ways of doing that. And those might be the kinds of things when somebody passes on, or if you miss somebody a lot, you might remember them laying on that rug in the rug store and just being like, I just remember my dad like really wanted this rug. It was, I don't know why. He never really told me why, but you might remember that more than you remember some giant, conversation you had with him about life or something.
I mean, you saw the rug later, right?
Great.
When it cut to her.
Yes,
as an older woman, like the rug is under her bed.
Yeah.
I think he bought
that whole theme.
Yeah, he bought it.
He laid on it, right? And also, filmmaking, he was dressed as a rug. Did y'all see that in that scene? He had on the burgundy, it was the same color as rugs, and his shorts were in like a rug pattern. And then he like laid down and like became it, and then later we see that she's like, she has that. I don't, so many little things like that were very effective. Sorry, keep going.
With the moment in terms of connecting, like trying to understand, especially our parents, there was one moment that just really stood out to me in terms of how much we don't know and we'll never know, is when he was trying to take his cast off.
Mm.
And
that shot was beautiful.
That shot was beautiful. And he's just sitting there bleeding, it's a split screen, and she's just in the other room like reading a magazine, and he's like, oh, you're reading the book, and she grabs the book, and she has no idea that he's sitting there with the cast like bleeding into a bucket.
Like she's in a nice warm hotel room, and his was cold as
He's cold. It's just like blue and the amber, and it's just this split of just like he's just.
And that's the kind of shot. That's the kind of shot that, like, when you're designing that, you might think like, is this too much? Like, my theme is about this kind of thing, and I'm literally showing a parent like bleeding out, and the kid has no idea. Not bleeding out to death, but bleeding. And it's the way it's presented, like you were saying, Jeff. Like it's the Tolkien thing. It's the telling, not the tale. It's the way it was filmed. It's the way she cut it all together that made all these things seem palatable. Otherwise, they could have seemed.
Also, there was a distraction there. It's
manipulative.
Like, there's a distraction there. It's like, why the fuck is he cutting his cast off? Like, is he healed or what?
With these tiny little scissors, like it's never going to work.
He cut it off because he wouldn't have been able to go scuba diving the next day.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, you're good. That was another great illusion. That was like, I think the scuba diving, the cast was maybe the first time they introduced that he was away from her and she didn't understand what he was doing. And then the next day he eventually went underwater and she has the camera and she's like, I'm sure he'll be fine. She says some line like that. Like, you know, they start to introduce these physical motifs of creating more distance between them as they become more comfortable in this new environment. And yeah, there was some like very tangible, practical father-daughter, like how is he letting her be alone like that? But beyond that, like on a deeper level, there were all these wonderful ways where you could tell he was trying to let her grow up. But in letting her try to become her own person, he was beginning to like kind of fall into himself more and more. I don't know.
I think as an estranged father as well, he was like acting more like a friend than a father a lot because he didn't quite know how to do the dad thing, which is like, it's not a sin. It's just, you know, you learn.
I don't know. I thought he was trying to be a really good dad. Like with the exception of that, you know, okay, like that one time that he left her alone, I thought actually he came off to me as like a really great dad.
I think so too.
Like a really, and even after, you know, that, you know, him leaving her like the next day, what really stood out to me is that he apologized. She tried to say like, no, it's okay. And he was like, no, I'm sorry. Like he wanted to make sure that she heard him when he said he was sorry, that it was not okay. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You know, it's fine. But like, he really made sure that she heard him, and
I agree completely
that it wasn't okay for her to just say like, no, it's okay. Like
she's like, no, it's fine. I had the best night of my young life the minute you walked away. It's like
I kissed a boy. Yeah, she talks to him about it.
Yeah, she was like, I played beer pong. I watched these older kids do it. I got a kiss. Like, what a night for me. You do your thing, Dad.
Two guys going for it in the laundry. Like,
Tina, I know what you mean. I couldn't stop thinking about how just because they were separated, the parents, and he was, you know, now single, divorced father, and we assume the same for the mother. We don't really hear much about her and her family life. Maybe she's remarried. You kind of project this like, oh, is he going to be like the desperate, estranged, trying too hard father? And if they were married and he was having those conversations with her, we would be like, best father ever. Like most people don't have time for that when they're parenting. They're just getting through task to next task kind of thing.
Maybe not best ever.
There's one phone call there where he was like, "Oh, congratulations, I'm happy for you." Like I'm assuming she either got engaged or had a new man in her life at that point.
Yeah, I don't know why. I also had the idea that like maybe she was with someone.
Yeah, I got that impression too. I also heard the sound effects of the crying baby, and I couldn't tell if that was in the past or the present, if that was like a pool
that was
baby.
In the present. I thought that was the grown-up Sophie who had a baby.
We're right around that. I think so.
So did the grown-up Sophie have the baby, and that's what the crying was? Because she was holding the baby, but it was at hers.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely. We're floating around the same moment in the movie where they have that lovely conversation about why do you say you love mom if y'all aren't together? And it kind of like, I feel like that, like the movie started taking on a totally different thing for me after this conversation. And this is one of those where, I don't know about you guys, but when you're watching slice of lifey things, like I'm a little allergic when they start talking about, all right, here comes the scene that she actually wrote this whole movie for. They're going to talk about the divorce and depression and stuff. And they got into it in such a lovely way. And in so many of her dialogue driven scenes, because I don't think there are a lot of them that are really dialogue driven.
Yeah.
The pacing was so effectively slow and pedestrian that it felt kind of uncomfortable, and also so comfortably we're in the middle, there's no rush, we're in the middle of this resort, we're kind of suspended in time here, that scene was really lovely.
Wait, but you think that's the scene that stood out to you as like the most important, or like
that was, for me, that was the beginning of her, the child, not necessarily like the director, but in the story, the child finally starting to like talk to the father. So it was the beginning where I started thinking, all right, there might be more conversations like this. I might have more of these kinds of things to look forward to, where she just asks him straight out and says things to him and accusations and whatever. And I was just like pleasantly surprised, because I felt like it was handled so subtly that I was like, okay, that was so believable.
It was subtle,
and now
but it was
moving
hell
on.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the heaviest one, the most on the nose one, was the, do you ever get tired? Do you ever feel sad? Do you ever come home at the end of a great day and feel like, I'm so tired, I have nothing left? And he just fucking spits on the mirror and walks out. It was like, oh, like it just, that was again.
I don't know. I love that. I love that moment. Like because she's literally describing exactly how he feels every day. And we just,
I mean, gently like how I felt this morning. It's
yeah, no, exactly. Just like she's just lying on the bed describing this feeling, and we finally get to his face and the reflection in the mirror, and it just shows like, I feel like this every day. It's like, hey, we're here to have fun, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And just
like, I can't let us see that,
but I can't imagine what that must feel like to think like, I gave that to them. That's my dirty blood that made her feel that way. I'm the reason that she struggles with that. And just, how that could feel, and just,
it would definitely cause a pang of adrenaline to hear your kid come out with that. If you were experiencing that yourself, it's like,
he couldn't even look himself in the eye. He had to fucking spit on his reflection with toothpaste. I don't know. That was intense for me. Very cinematic and very simple. Let's talk. Can I ask you guys a little bit to go, Dave and Tina, you are talking a little bit about this, and I want you to go further with it, with the interesting choice of camera angles.
Okay, let's go.
And on some of the scenes that are just like, why can we barely see their face? Why is some of it in the home video and some of it's barely in a reflection on the television? I just want to hear you talk about it.
I mean, I feel like, you've heard the story about how these two had a 2-week holiday in a resort just before they started filming, like to build up a rapport and to get it working.
Yeah.
So I feel like the back and forth of this, and that one shot that I'll focus on in particular, where they sit the camera, like the video camera down, and he's appearing in the video camera sometimes, and she's appearing in the video camera sometimes, but his face is in the mirror, and they're shifting focus between the TV and the mirror. For one, hats off to the sheer amount of fucking blocking that would have taken. Like, you've got to be in the right place or it's back to one. And it was that was almost, I think, one take there, but they just let that happen.
Yeah,
but also it frames the actor in such a really nice way. And because you've got something going to keep your eye busy, but you're listening because there's not that much to look at. There's like a tiny sliver of this guy framed in this section. You're listening to every word he's saying because you're like, all right, well, I can see him there. I'm going to listen to that. And it draws your attention. And the dialogue in that scene is pretty important. Like, there's a lot going on there that they just cover off camera. I loved it. I thought that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a trick. I'm like, that's going in the bag. I'm going to use that one day. Like, that was really, really good. Jeff, just because you're like,
Jeff.
just got his electricity shut off.
Damn it. It said I had an hour and a half. It lied to me.
I have kind of two things to say. That was also the moment when that was the return to the moment from the beginning.
Yeah.
When she asked him what was your who did you want to be, like where did you think you'd be when you were 11, and then she asked him what he did on his 11th birthday, and he tells the story of how they forgot about his birthday. And So that was pretty intense, but it also made me remember a little personal story when he said, he said like, okay, I'm not recording anymore, and he's like, I can see the camera is recording, I can see the red light.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I did that to my dad. I like recorded like when I was in my 20s and I was just visiting home and I had the camcorder and I was like, we were just having lunch. I was like, I'm just gonna put it there. I'm just gonna record us having lunch. I'm just gonna like record my dad having lunch. And we're just like having a conversation. And then at some point, I think he just kind of stared right at the camera because he didn't know. Stared right at the camera. And then he left.
What would have been worse was if he just came up really close and said, I've got a message for future you.
He didn't give it away. I only saw it when I watched the footage afterwards. I was like, oh, he saw it.
It was like, what's he doing? Is he like winking at her or something?
That's why he left.
I was happy.
No, he just kind of looked at it, looked away, and then he got up and left. But anyway,
It's day of my life when they release cameras where you could turn that light off.
But to go back to the movie, this was interesting. It was like he's either on camera footage or there's some kind of reflection. So much of it is also just you just feel this haze of summer, end of summer, vacation. There's just like your memories. There's just always this different quality to the light, and then the final shot of the movie, the 360 shot. When it finally turns around, we see older Sophie, and then it goes around, and then we see him recording. It was so jarring to me because it felt like for the first time we saw him without any of the memory filters or anything like that. It just was him, and the lighting was different. Obviously, it was just a different color, and it was just jarring.
And also, it keeps going.
Yeah, and goes into the club.
And that last shot, that last shot, because they set this up because they keep having flashes to the vision of like him and older Sophie in the nightclub, and she's screaming, and he kind of can't hear and stuff. And then he turns around and walks away, and the doors just pop open a little bit, and you can see the exact same lighting happening behind the doors. Again, absolute subtlety, and the movie goes like, that is how you stick the landing on an abrupt ending. For one. Two, I involuntarily said out loud, "Ooh, I like that." At the end, like, it just came out of my mouth. I was like, "Ooh, I like that." Like, thank God.
I haven't heard Jeff in a while. Jeff, you haven't said anything.
I'm here. I'm just. You guys are very.
You can't read his notes. It's dark at his house.
Yeah, I say I lost my lighting here, so I hear you. No, I've gone through all my notes. The one thing that I was just interested about was just the look at the top when they were singing "Happy Birthday," and he was not particularly happy about it, and he just stood there stoic, like fucking Bambi's father at the top of this like little hill.
Also,
it transitions into him crying on the bed.
Crying
naked on the bed. Yeah, the karaoke scene was particularly awkward.
Oh, and then they did the whole this whole.
They made you sit through the whole thing.
Oh my god!
I was like, oh my god, somebody save her! Like, he's gonna get up. He's got to get up, and he didn't.
Yeah, what I was referring to in my opening. What did you think of it when I said there's something I'll talk about later that's such an obvious device that's so important to this, so that it's not strictly stay with them slice of life. Jeff, you were saying the voiceover thing, should it be there? For me, what gave me all the context I needed was this club scene that you're calling it, this night, this flashing total black room with just strobe going. And for the first several times we see it, you see an older woman, and we start making our connections. You probably assume it's her, but she's alone the first few times we see it. We don't see him come into it.
That's the funny thing. We don't meet that older woman until what, 20 minutes after that?
Yeah.
Like, you don't put that together until later. Yeah.
It's just enough for you to start thinking like, or that thing I was saying at the beginning, like these fractured, like almost memories. And so it gave me even more juice as I was going through this, because with that, she started teaching me that I don't remember all of this. I might be making up some of this.
Yeah,
and it's still just as important to me. So what the whole punctuation for me, obviously the ending is incredible. I loved it. So I love that they did that. But when he was begging her to dance with him, and they strip away all the music from the Bowie.
Oh God, that gave me chills.
Yeah, and they finally start dancing together, and then these two different aspects of the film combine into one. the older version of her finally dancing with her father. Almost the strobes get quicker together, almost being able to see him and touch him. And then she's trying to like say something to him. That was where I just like, my heart was like outside my chest. This woman made this movie because she can't quite connect with him. She never had the chance to really do it with him.
Yeah.
You know, juxtaposed with the fact that she was kind of resisting that moment, and maybe to hurt him because he didn't want to do the karaoke with her, but for whatever it was, that was just filmmaking like at its best. I thought that was perfect.
My note on that scene is, yes, something goes horribly wrong during that last dance, and yes, I'm sure it's intended that you don't know what it is, and it just builds a sense of dread.
Yeah,
and that's what I
think it was all her.
I mean, the sense of dread was building all the way through this a little bit, even though it was like warm and happy. There was this underlying sense of dread that they just slowly built up till he walked down that corridor, and you're like, yeah, I know exactly what just happened.
It's so artistically pure and true. I feel like this is the kind of stuff that I don't want to say they teach in film school because it's not like somebody just taught her. She has agency. And
like I know what you mean, though.
But like this is
watching this.
You go to school because you want to do good, and then you come out knowing how you could sell it and make money, and how you could like be practical while trying to stay true to your art. And it always becomes like a balance, right? Like the entrepreneurial artist, you know, that has to be, you know, you have to be able to pull this off. You have to, if you're going to ask for money, you've got to be able to sell it. And anyway, the fact that she was able to it seems to be so true, to just be so clear in this. This is artistic. It's purely artistic. Nothing about this is viscerally, well, it's 100% visceral. Nothing about this is economical. That is just not something that I'm concerning my way at all. But this, it makes sense. This is meant for MoMA. Fine, I don't care. But like, I don't care where it's going to end up. This is what it has to be.
It's not economical, but it has a really delicate touch. Like, this is very well controlled, but it doesn't look like it.
I mean, economical in the metaphorical, artistic sense, but not economical in like the practical. Yeah. It's almost more impressive because of that. You know, I don't know. I know that's so arbitrary, but in hindsight, it's like, how do they do this? You know, and I'm glad she's nominated for a million BAFTAs. I'm sorry that America is just investigating, campaigning now because of the Andrea Riseborough situation. But I know it's not all about Oscars, and they have some mention thanks to Paul. But what a bold take, you know. And this, obviously, Charlotte's amazing. She's been on the jury for South by Southwest 2017. So even though she'd only made shorts up until this film, at least as a director, she's produced apparently a series. But it's just fucking bold, you know. And it's almost hopeful, if nothing else, moving forward, that like these kinds of things can be possible. And if it wasn't for AMC and Regal and all these other big budget studios trying to fucking, you know, corner the market. Like, thank God the fucking lottery in Scotland can help people just do their art and let it be. And then a couple of them are going to rise to the surface and really mean something. But they all mean something. But a couple of them are going to also be commercially successful, too. And I think that's cool.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to say that, like, I rented this. I have Paramount Plus, but I rented this.
Yeah, I had to rent one for this other fucking podcast. So I really spent some money this week renting these.
Yeah, no, I
was happy for this one.
You know what? It was a different movie that was on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
I did a double feature.
Okay.
That one I rented.
Podcast you on?
Yes. But can we talk about the kind of the texture of Summer Vacation that is part of like Summer Vacation in the 90s? All of the music, just this whole, the building of the environment and every single moment. I mean, I was that age in the 90s, and it just, everything felt so real to me, all of the music. And, you know, I wasn't in Turkey, I was in neighboring Bulgaria, but basically the same thing. It was just so real to me. And there was just this overwhelming feeling of when you're on vacation, it feels like you should be having fun. And they say this so many times, we're here to have fun. We should be having fun. And it's clear that both of them are dealing with something that is just not quite fun.
Oh, yeah.
But they're both trying to say to the other one, no, we should do this thing because it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. This is going to be so much fun. And going from this sort of statement that was made in the middle of the movie that we talked about, you've just had this amazing day and then you feel tired and down, and well, you should be happy, right, because you've had this amazing day, but you just feel down. it felt like the entire vacation is like that. It's like you're having these amazing days, but something just doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah. And very White Lotus-y that they're in a very beautiful place and they barely ever leave the resort.
Well, actually, their resort wasn't the one they were going to. They snuck into that resort.
Yeah, they went to the other one that was like with the all-inclusive bracelets and all that. But what really hit me in the end, what really hit me in the end was when they were sitting at the tables like their last day, and they take the picture, and she's asking, oh, you know, can we just stay? And it just broke my heart because I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's definitely the last vacation that they're ever going to have together.
And it's also like when this ends, things are not going to go well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just, but it just hit me so much, like this realization that when you think, oh, kind of every day was a little bit disappointing. I wanted to have fun, but it was a little bit disappointing. And then you get to the end and you think, oh no, actually it was beautiful.
Yeah.
No, you know, this thing that I kept complaining about actually was amazing and I wanted to keep going, but it can't. It's over. That is it.
And you never again have vacations like you had when you were 10.
And that was one of those moments where I wasn't, it didn't matter. I wasn't sure if I was more moved by the child literally saying that, or the director saying, I wish I would have said that to him.
Oh,
I love you so much, and I wish I could stay here forever with you. And I'm so sorry that I did, you know, it's just, God, she just left so much room for that. But I know what you mean about the White Lotus thing. Probably did open up a lot of opportunities for people to get into this place. We tend to go on vacations and have the most difficult conversations that we don't have time to have in a regular day-to-day. But the texture and all of the environmental aspects, that little thing she put in her hair, I remember girls doing that in the 90s, the little, you know,
Macarena.
One of my favorite moments, I loved her like trying on her outfit. One of my favorite moments in the film is when they're sitting there and it's a lingering shot from a telephoto lens from a distance, and they're sitting on like some table far away, and it's when he's saying, I think it is when he's saying, it's before the night that he has, before they go to karaoke, and they're having some conversation. There's this giant lull, and then he says, "Why are you wearing your bikini?"
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And it's just like,
she's wearing a shirt, right? So she has it underneath, I guess, right?
She has it underneath.
She's wearing a dress over it.
Yeah. And just those little attempts at what you're talking about, Tina, those little attempts that we make on maybe on vacations almost exclusively sometimes to try to get closer, you know, like even if it's weird and awkward or difficult. And I just felt like that push and pull in this film created so much wonderful tension that even people who hadn't heard a rumor that this man committed suicide, and I hope that's not true, I kept waiting. I kept feeling like something was about to happen. And that is kind of how vacations feel sometimes, right? You kind of hope they're going to be this dreamlike place where you don't have to worry about anything, but it's almost like you're always on the precipice of fun and adventure or something dark and your worst fight ever. And of course, this builds up to that magnificent evening where he just abandons her and she's having like this weird childhood coming of age moment. Yeah. And he's wandering into the dark, into the sea.
Seriously, I thought he wasn't coming back out. I thought.
Yeah, who thought that when the kid, like when she was sleeping on the couch at reception and the kid came to like wake her up, that he was about to say like, they found your dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. That's what I thought. I was like, oh no.
He walked into the water. I was like, he's not coming back out of that. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
She also, because she holds on it for like 30 seconds and you're like, where is it? You know,
and I'm so glad they did what they did, because I was like, it wouldn't have worked if they'd gone the other way. It would have turned it into like a dramatic emotional mess.
Which also makes me think now that like, this is the therapy that this wonderfully talented young female director is going through with her father. Like, she probably didn't know that it was that fucked up when she was going through it. Like so many of us do with children, friends that we have growing up who may have had issues with mental health or addiction, or parents or family members. When you're a child going through it, it just is. You know, you don't really place a value to it necessarily. And only now can she maybe look back.
Weird. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. So like she may have only been able to have that kind of clarity that was brought into her storytelling at this age. And but again, you know, there was just enough room for me to see that like, this is a filmmaker saying that, and also you can have your own personal experience with it. And I just thought she absolutely nailed that.
There is that moment they do mention when they talk about Cleopatra, when she says, well, it was suicide. So the word suicide does appear in
it does.
film.
Yeah. Well,
as we wind this down, can I say one more thing about Paul Mescal that I think is great especially about this movie?
Please do.
Our society is fucking obsessed with youth, as you know. We try to keep all the ladies young and all the guys young, and everybody wants to be a teenager forever, right? Timothee Chalamet is going to be a teenager till he's 40 years old.
Yeah, but as you turn 45, they write you off in society.
He needs his Departed.
It's worse.
He needs his Departed to really start growing up.
But then you have people like Logan Lerman and Michael Cera and apparently Lucas Hedges, which we're still like we're putting the milk boxes, the milk cartons out. We're like, where's Lucas Hedges at? But these specifically guys in this case, because I know Hollywood treats women differently than men. These people that we know them as teenagers really struggle to get to that next tier. And once you do, like Bill Skarsgård is one of the best, where he was this young, beautiful man, and he was like, "I'm gonna be fucking Pennywise, and then I'm just gonna be middle aged. Like, fuck it, I don't need those young romantic roles." The fact that Paul Mescal is 26,
is the most romantic motherfucker ever.
That's it. Yeah, get out of here. The fact that he's 26 and he's known for He's 26. He's known for playing a teenager, basically twice if you count The Lost Daughter. And he's like, no, I'm going to play the 31-year-old young dad. I'm going to do it. I'll grow a beard. I'll grow a mustache, whatever. And the fact that he's already bridging that gap, I feel like we're going to see him for a long time. Not just because he's going to be the gladiator. He got the gladiator because he's making these choices to go in that direction. So I don't know who Logan Lerman's people are that's like, nah, just do some Peter, what do they call the lightning thief people? It's like, just do those until you're 30.
Percy Jackson.
And then nobody gives a fuck about, you know what I mean? It's like, come on.
Where are all the men?
Logan, he was in Bullet Train, but I think he was the dead person. Anyway,
yeah.
Kudos to.
I feel
I'm glad you said that.
As we wrap this up, I must say.
Sure, we all loved it. Cheers to a lovely film. Just because we haven't called her out yet, I cannot. She saw over 800 young women for this role. Frankie Corio was hypnotic, magnetic. Her smirk, the glee, whatever she was getting out of it was fucking perfect. Also, I didn't see her act a moment in this movie.
Yeah, annoying as 11-year-olds can be. Like, yeah.
Sure. No, yeah, she was brilliant.
According to IMDb, because I did my extensive research, which means I went on IMDb and clicked on trivia. When they rehearsed, she just.
Yeah, you got a resource.
When they rehearsed this for the 2 weeks before, which I'm still unclear of, like, did they just live together during the 2 week rehearsal period, or was that separate? So it was actually 4 weeks of bonding. It's a little unclear. That's why you can't just trust IMDb and Wikipedia.
No, well, the article that I read.
You read an article, yeah.
Yes,
but that's more.
It said that they did spend 2 weeks at a resort and did 2 full read-throughs while they were there.
Okay, while they were there. Okay, sweet. So anyway, they cut out the depression, the alone parts. So Frankie Corio did not see, according to this.
Yeah, anything in her script.
Yeah. She didn't see any of the depression. Yeah. Which was great. So you could just focus on what you got to focus on. That was a smart choice.
Yeah. No, that was confirmed.
She was so good though, right, guys? I mean, that was
God,
I thought that was one of the. Every now and then you see when children nail it, they really nail it. They're just they're so alive, but. Every now and then you see one of those child performances where you're like, whoa. And I don't know, I got
and
really
they gasped her first.
Feeling.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm glad they built.
Yeah.
Child actors are just getting better. Is it the hormones in chicken or what? Like, they're just getting better and better.
They drink plastic. It's in their...
But yeah, it was, the director wanted to find Sophie first and then the dad.
So good. Well, my hat is way off to Charlotte Wells. Holy crap! This is what quite a first feature.
That was something. You're not going to know you like it until it's over.
Well,
I heard somebody in class last week describe a film this way. They said it was a cozy watch, and this is a heavy film. Yeah, but you guys, really I wanted to kind of like wrap myself inside this film. Like I felt very comfortable inside it.
Someone has described it as it quietly devastates you.
Yeah,
and I can't think of a better description for this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
sounds
excited.
like a good way to wrap this up.
Just gotta go.
Moving on.
That's
before he loses the rest of his life.
I'm gonna lose
my computer dies.
Yeah, that's right. So we're gonna finish it up, people, with our quick finishing segment. with a round of what you've been watching, where we tell you our recommendations for the week. Can we start with our guest again, Tina? Can you give us can you get us started with what you've been watching?
Sure, yeah. Well, in terms of TV, I watched Bad Sisters on Apple.
Okay.
Oh.
If you have not seen it, highly recommended.
Nice.
It's just 10 episodes, one season. It is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It is.
I love that the US has gone full British now, and it's like you get 10 episodes. That's a season.
Well, it's an Irish show.
Like 6.
So
Okay.
there you go.
But all the like HBO stuff and Netflix and stuff that's coming out, it's like 10 episodes long now. It's like we've gone British. Deal with it.
Yeah, like dark comedy and dramatic, and it's just brilliant. You have to watch it.
Nice.
And if anyone else wants to watch any other quietly devastating films, I can recommend Hold Me Tight. It's on a movie. I don't know if anyone else has that, but it's a French film. It's with Vicky Krieps from Phantom Thread.
Sure. I've heard of this film. I've heard she's great in it.
Yes, it's unbelievable. It's about a mother who you see in the beginning sort of leaves her husband and two children, and then but she has some kind of strange connection to them as they go on their journey in life without her, and then you realize something else is going on, and there's pretty big reveal, and it's absolutely beautiful and devastating. So highly recommend.
You pretty much had John at Phantom Thread.
Yes, high five.
Yeah, sure.
And you mentioned The Lost Daughter before. Obviously, this is a movie that came out in 2021, but if anyone hasn't seen it, I was thinking like that's a good companion in a strange way to Aftersun. Like,
He really gives his family some fun things to watch him in.
Yes.
Heavy stuff. Nice. Dave?
I've been mostly TV this week. I found some light fluff. I started the series Preacher, which is based on a graphic novel. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculous, good, monstrous fun. It's I can't even describe it. You just have to watch the first episode and see if it's for you, because it's not going to be for everyone. I can tell you that. I also caught a British comedy called Extraordinary, which is set in a world where everyone gets a superpower on their 18th birthday, except this one girl who's 25 and is an absolute loser as far as her family's concerned. And
it sounds like Encanto.
Navigating her.
Was I saying that Encanto?
No, it's not. It's British. It's as you'd expect from British humor. I quite enjoy it. We're up to like episode 6, I think. Cool. And the other thing I did this week, because I didn't watch anything else, was I finished the Last of Us game.
Because
I was like, the movie's going to overtake the game. It's going to spoil the game for me, so I had to finish it. Because I was having a little trouble with the game because those fucking clickers keep killing you. So I had to go back and
the clickers.
Happy to say I finished it today.
Nice.
Well, actually, about 1 o'clock this morning.
Damn, dude. I heard it's a great game. Yeah, I too watched. I watched The Last of Us last weekend, and then we got home really late that night. I was coming back from East Coast, so we got home and we watched that together. And then I stayed up because I was just craving something that was in that kind of feel, and not knowing that Craig Mazin also wrote it, I just turned Chernobyl on again. I just rewatched Chernobyl. I watched like 4 episodes in one night and 4 the next night. And he's the same head writer. He created and wrote that as well. Fucking goddamn, I love that show so much.
What our
I know I haven't been buzzed yet. I figured I have to say something.
Our friends from The Ringer, Chris and Andy, they just did a Chernobyl podcast because Andy watched. They're not our real friends, but you know them, John. Yeah, Andy Greenwald just watched Chernobyl,
sure.
So they did a Chernobyl podcast this week. Do you listen to them, or is that just a complete coincidence that you did that?
Total coincidence, and I think they're probably feeling what I'm feeling. I mean, it just handles
that
dystopian feeling so well, so adult, adult, dramatic.
When Stellan says, "I knew I'm the scientist, and I put myself in this situation, and I knew when he says that in like the final episode, and you're just like, oh my god, he like willingly no wonder he was so bitter the whole time." That's powerful.
I mean, it's just God, it's so brilliant.
Nothing's better than the initial explosion, though. The initial explosion is like, it's just so.
I could just feel all of the like atoms in my body just like.
I know.
When you see it, you're like, what's going on? Then, oh my god, yeah.
Johan Rank, however you pronounce the director's name, who directed all of it. The way that they hand off perspective in that first episode, the way it just follows a new character at every single scene is a different person's perspective on the event. And it's just so effective. Anyway, that was wonderful. Movie wise, I rewatched Doctor Strangelove for a class, and I also watched a beautiful movie from the 90s, a Canadian film called The Sweet Hereafter. And I can't recommend it enough. It was really effective. I don't even want to tell you what it's about. But it's a very effective,
cool
indie drama. And there was something else. Anyway, keep going. Jeff, what'd you watch, man?
So I did one of those things this week where I started like 7 different things that I didn't feel like finishing. so I would like to apologize to my co-host John Say for what I did to his HBO Go recently watched section of it. All these things. I started so many things. I literally I looked at it and I was like, none of these are John's. These are all mine.
A lot of them I would watch though. I was like, these are all.
So you have like anti-recommendations?
Do I have anti? No, I don't have anti. I just wasn't in the mood for any of them. But I was on this. I forgot to mention I was on the Film versus Film podcast. It's not coming out for a while, so I guess it's okay. And we were doing Meryl Streep movies, so I rewatched Postcards from the Edge, which I just watched 2 weeks ago. But I wasn't completely sober when I saw that, so I figured I needed to rewatch it before I talked about it.
Have you watched it after one of our episodes?
Oh, so it's a fantastic Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine performance. Gene Hackman, nice supporting role. Mike Nichols, I think it's great. I think and Carrie Fisher's script. I think Carrie Fisher's script is better than Mike Nichols' direction, and the acting beats out everything. But anyway, so I watched Death Becomes Her. Was the other movie, which is another renter. And that was super fun.
That's a fun one.
Wow.
Bob Zemeckis.
Blast from the past.
Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and then Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was doing his best to hang with them. Let's put it that way. But I think that it was a good film.
I love Bruce Willis.
Oh, me too. It's just he was a little out of his element.
Sure.
It was that's it. Death Becomes Her, and then of course I love The Last of Us, and it's on now. It's literally on right this very second.
Literally on now. Yeah, I'm excited to watch, man.
So that's it. There we go.
All right.
Oh,
Thank
Dave,
you so much.
I've been waiting all day. You said you were going to announce something on this episode about a new podcast that you had to wait till we were recording to say it. You texted us about it, dude.
Oh yeah. So one of my coworkers, she was like, I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm gonna. She's like, my husband is doing a podcast with his friend, and I'm like, sounds familiar, and so she's like, yeah, it's called Crapping Your Pants with Rob and Ken. And that was a conversation stopper. I immediately needed to know more. Apparently, they invite you to send in stories of when you crapped your pants, and then they discuss it on their podcast.
People, we all have time to kill. Everybody has time in their day that they just need to fill up with something.
Come on.
So,
That's funny. That's good. That's funny, dude. That's funny.
Fill your shorts with crapping your pants with Rob and Ken. It's like...
Wow. Oh, I'm glad we squeezed that in there at the last
second. Right? That's important. That's a good one to end on.
A lack of squeeze led to half the stories on here.
Thanks for dropping that one in here at the very end.
We almost didn't make it. All right, Jeff needs to go watch football. So thank you so much, fans, for tuning in.
What a note to finish on. I wish I'd remembered that at the start.
I'm glad you didn't. For the 5 people that are on their treadmill watching us on YouTube right now, thank you. Thank you so much, film fans. Thank you so much to our guest, Tina. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks for having me.
Back on again soon. Of course. And we'll see you all next time. Film fans.
Jeff, fix your light.
No.